You know what's wild? When you dive into true crime, there's this pattern you see over and over again. Almost every killer out there had some seriously messed up childhood: abuse, neglect, trauma, you name it. It's like clockwork. But here's the thing. Sometimes there are no warning signs, no red flags, no tragic backstory to explain away the horror. Sometimes people are just born different. Today, we're looking at 5 killers who had completely normal upbringings. These aren't stories about broken homes or terrible parents. These are about people who chose darkness all on their own. Let's get into it. Alright, so this one's a little different. It's not really about a killer with a normal childhood. It's about 2 brothers who refused to become killers, even though violence was literally in their DNA. Meet Vince Boston. He was only 3 years old when his mom disappeared. And I'm not talking about her leaving the family or running away. What happened to her was so much worse. Vince and his younger brother Russell were just kids when their grandmother sat them down and told them the truth. Straight up, no sugarcoating. Your dad killed her because he didn't want to lose you kids. Can you even imagine hearing that as a child? Their mom, Mary Lou, was the perfect 1960s mom: beehive hairdo, cat eye glasses, the whole deal. She loved her kids more than anything. But in 1968, she made a decision that would cost her everything. She told her husband Silas she wanted a divorce. Now, Silas played it cool at first, acted like it didn't bother him. But not long after, he took Mary Lou for a drive. Except this wasn't some let's talk things through kind of drive. He drove her to a heavily wooded area, pulled out a gun, and forced her out of the car. As she ran for her life, her last words were about her boys. What about the kids? What about the babies? Then Silas pulled the trigger. Her body has never been found. For most kids, this would be too much to handle. But for Vince and Russell, this was just the beginning of their nightmare. Fast forward to 1978. Silas was wanted in California for assault, so he did what any upstanding citizen would do. He fled the country and moved the family onto a boat he named the Justin B. They lived in Baja, Mexico, taking tourists on diving trips to make money. But the Justin B was about to become the scene of Silas's most infamous crime. In June of that year, 2 young British travelers, Chris Farmer and Peter Frampton, boarded that boat. They were fresh out of college, just exploring the world, completely unaware they just stepped into a killer's trap. One night, things got ugly. Silas got drunk and started beating Russell over something stupid. The kid messed up cooking rice or something. Chris, horrified by what he was seeing, stepped in to defend the boy. That act of kindness sealed his fate. Silas was humiliated. When Chris dodged his drunken swing and they both ended up in the water, something snapped in Silas's mind. From that moment on, he was planning their deaths. A few days later, while Chris was pulling up the anchor, Silas attacked him from behind with a wooden bat. Peeta screamed, but Silas hit her with a spear gun. The 2 young brothers watched in absolute terror as their father tied the couple up, put bags over their heads, weighed them down with engine parts, and threw them overboard. About a week later, fishermen discovered their bodies. For years after that, Russell and Vince tried to report their father. They told anyone who would listen, but nobody believed them. Law enforcement just dismissed them. Silas walked free for decades. It wasn't until 2016 that investigators finally took a closer look at him. Ironically, because they thought he might be the Golden State Killer. He wasn't, but they finally arrested him for the murders of Chris and Peeta. He died in custody before he ever faced trial. Here's what makes this story even darker. Russell later revealed that killing was basically a family tradition. Silas's father had been a moonshiner during Prohibition, and he'd killed anyone who threatened his business. Murder was just an option for solving problems in the Boston family. A twisted legacy passed down like an heirloom. Silas tried to teach this to his sons. But here's the beautiful part: both Russell and Vince rejected it completely. They chose a different path. As Russell said, "My father didn't mind killing people. He saw murder as a simple option for most obstacles in his life. But we chose differently. Christopher Watts. Born May 16, 1985 in Spring Lake, North Carolina. By all accounts, Chris had a great childhood. Stable home, loving parents, excelled in school and sports. Teachers and friends described him as polite, introverted, hardworking, just a genuinely good kid with a bright future ahead. There were no warning signs, no abuse, no trauma, nothing that would make you think, yeah, this guy's gonna snap one day. And that's what makes this case so terrifying. In 2010, Chris met Sean and they clicked instantly. 2 years later, they were married. They bought this beautiful 5-bedroom house in Colorado and had 2 gorgeous daughters, Bella and Celeste. If you looked at Shanann's social media, you'd see the perfect family. Doting parents, adorable kids, the whole American dream. But behind closed doors, things were falling apart. By 2015, they had to declare bankruptcy. The financial stress was crushing Chris. And instead of dealing with it like an adult, he started blaming his family for all his problems. Then in 2018, while Shanann was working her tail off to support them, Chris started an affair with a coworker named Nicole Kessinger. And that's when he decided his family had to go. August 13, 2018. Early morning hours. Shanann comes home from a business trip, exhausted, probably just wanting to crawl into bed. She had no idea it would be her last night alive. Chris strangled his pregnant wife. Then he went into his daughter's rooms and smothered them both. Bella, only 4 years old, fought back. She scratched her father's body, desperately trying to survive. But Chris was methodical, calculated. He'd planned this all out. He buried Shanann in a shallow grave at the oil site where he worked. Then, and this is the part that still makes my stomach turn, he shoved his daughter's small bodies through an 8-inch opening into oil tanks. 8 inches. Think about that for a second. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. For days after, Chris played the grieving husband on TV. He went on local news, pleading for his family's safe return, saying he just wanted them home safe, all while knowing exactly where they were. "I hope she's somewhere safe right now with the kids," he told reporters, looking right into the camera. "If somebody has her and they're not safe, I want them back now." The performance was so convincing that some neighbors actually believed him. But investigators weren't buying it. Chris failed a polygraph test and his story started crumbling. Eventually, he confessed to everything. His motive? He wanted to start a new life with his mistress. Free from the responsibilities of being a dad. Free from his marriage. That's it. That's all it took for him to annihilate his entire family. Chris pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty and got 5 life sentences without parole. And you know what's heartbreaking? Shanann's family chose not to pursue capital punishment. They said they didn't want to add another death to the tragedy. That's grace. That's humanity. Something Chris clearly never had. So there you have it, killers with completely normal upbringings. It goes to show you that sometimes nature really can be stronger than nurture. These weren't people broken by their circumstances. They just chose evil. That's what makes these cases so unsettling. There's no easy explanation. No childhood trauma to point to and say, "Ah, that's why." Sometimes people are just wired differently. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. And hey, if you want more dark content, check out our movie An Angry Boy. It's free on YouTube and Tubi. Links are in the description. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.